Well, for the third time in 3 weeks, there was a major explosion at what's suspected to be a sensitive military site in Iran. The latest occurred yesterday morning in western Tehran and caused widespread power outages. As of now, it remains unclear who or what is behind these string of explosions. There have been three of them, including one at the Parchin military site and another one where they make centrifuges for their nuclear program. Joining us now is retired General Jack Keane, Fox News military strategic analyst. General Keane, we had Stuxnet, that computer virus to sabotage their computers. What do you think's behind these mysterious explosions?
Well, there's actually in the last several months, there's been dozens of so-called accidents that the Iranians claim have been taking place, and largely they're explosions or fires. That is no longer a credible claim, given the sheer numbers of them. And as you noted, just in the last couple of weeks, we've had a missile production plant that exploded. We had their advanced centrifuge plant, which exploded with an incredible fire, which literally destroyed the place and set the nuclear program back at least a year, Eric, or possibly two. And then this week, there's been two other power plants that have had explosions and a chemical gas leak in another plant. I mean, it's pretty obvious there's two countries that have the capability to do this. One is the United States, the other is Israel. You mentioned the cyber attacks that took place a decade ago. The United States was involved in that with the Israelis. It's a matter of public knowledge now. The Israelis conducted an assassination campaign against Iranian scientists, which you also mentioned early on. And then in 2018, Eric, the Israelis penetrated deep into Tehran, the capital of Iran, and took out of a warehouse, a secure warehouse, half a ton of classified information, which they turned over to the UN inspectors, and they documented the fact that Iran was developing a nuclear weapon. So what is happening here? This is a covert espionage campaign, likely being conducted by the Israelis and being assisted by informants inside Iran and others who are part of the resistance movement in Iran.
I was going to mention the National Council of Resistance of Iran, huge group that have a lot of people out there on the ground potentially helping out in this.
Yeah, I don't think the Mossad, who's likely executing this, could do it without assistance. I mean, the most secret sites that Iran had were disclosed to us a number of years ago, and that came as a result of informants who knew where those sites were. So I think there is logically some cooperation. I believe it's a smart strategy if you accept the objective that we don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons with missiles that can deliver them, and I'm one of those who supports that. Then the strategy that the Israelis are doing, likely with support from the United States, at least in terms of moral support, any intelligence they could give would assist them. It's fairly savvy, and here's why. Because it gives the Israelis deniability. And what we're not dealing with is airstrikes that are going into these missile sites and nuclear sites. Obviously, it would be known that the Israelis are delivering that, and that would force the Iranians to do what? To escalate up. And this gives them the capability of denying it and making them much more patient and less likely to have this cyber espionage and also kinetic espionage, which we're seeing, lead to war. The Iranians don't want that, and the Israelis, I think, are executing a strategy which right now already has slowed this program down a year or two, and they may not be finished yet.
Quickly, 30 seconds. Do you think we have allegedly have other tricks up our sleeves to try to set the nuclear program back?
Oh, yes, and certainly cyber activity is one of our strongest suits, and also one of the Israelis' suits as well. No, they're not finished, but I don't believe the Iranians are going to respond very strongly, because I believe they're waiting for the November elections in the United States to see who wins that election and to determine who they should negotiate with.
All right, and if former Vice President Biden is elected, how do you think that will impact their thinking?
Well, I can't predict what Vice President Biden would do as president, but I can say he was part of the team that construed the nuclear deal which brought us to this debacle that we're dealing with, which permits Iran actually to acquire a nuclear weapon when you would think the purpose of the nuclear deal would be to prevent them from having one. So certainly he could be seriously along those lines again, but hopefully not.
Yeah, no sunset clause on that. General Keane, as always, thank you.